Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Public Improvement Commission hearing of November 15th, 2018. Our first item is the acceptance of the minutes. Upon request by the Public Improvement Commission staff, the acceptance of the minutes of the hearing held on November 1st, 2018. Are there any edits, corrections, or questions about the minutes? All right, hearing none. Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the November 1st hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Moving on to the public hearing. Our first item is on a joint petition by 6 West Broadway LLC and CPC Cornerstone Development LLC for the widening and relocation of the existing right-of-ways lines of West 2nd Street, a public way in South Boston at the southeasterly corner of its intersection with Dorchester Ave. This was new business on November 1st, 2018. This is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Widening and Relocation Plan, 6 and 14 West Broadway, Dorchester Avenue and West 2nd Street, South Boston, one sheet dated November 12th, 2018. Good morning.
Awesome. Good morning. Dominic Rinaldi with BSC Group, here on behalf of the applicants. With me is the architect Nick Ruggieri of Rodi Architects. As you mentioned, we're here with 3 petitions, all associated with 2 projects at 6 and 14 West Broadway. Just to reorient you on the project sites, on all the plans, north is towards the upper right corner. The plans are situated with Dorchester Avenue at the top, West Broadway to the left, and West 2nd and Athens Street to the right. The 6 West Broadway job, which is a new hotel, is located at the top half, roughly the top half of the page, and 14 West Broadway, which is a multifamily condominium building, is located sort of roughly the bottom half of the page. 6 has frontage on West Broadway, Dorchester, and West 2nd, and 14 actually is a through lot from West Broadway to Athens Street with maybe a tiny bit of frontage on West 2nd. If it pleases the commission, I'll just go through the petitions one at a time.
That'd be great. Talk about the widening and relocation.
Yeah, I'd love to start with the widening and relocation. So through the widening and relocation is on the 6 West Broadway property. It's at the northern corner at the intersection of Dorchester and West 2nd. Through some quirk of creation, that lot currently juts out to a point actually into the roadway itself. What we'd like to do, with your permission, is rectify that, create an 18-foot radius curve that will then bring the entirety of the roadway and the sidewalk back into the public right-of-way while leaving the entirety of the building on the 6 West Broadway property.
Questions or comments on the widening and relocation? Amir Todd? Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on the widening and relocation.
I'll make a motion on a joint petition by 6 West Broadway LLC and CPC Cornerstone Development LLC for the widening and relocation of West 2nd Street as read into the record by the chair. And is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Widening and Relocation Plan, 6 and 14 West Broadway, Dorchester Avenue, and West 2nd Street, South Boston, one sheet dated November 12, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Thank you.
Our next item is on a joint petition by 6 West Broadway LLC and CPC Cornerstone Development LLC for the acceptance of pedestrian easements adjacent to the following public ways in South Boston. Dorchester Avenue on its easterly side, generally between West Broadway and West 2nd Street, and Athens Street on its southwesterly side, southeast of West 2nd Street. This was new business on November 1st, 2018, and this is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan, 6 and 14 West Broadway, Dorchester Avenue, and Athens Street, South Boston, one sheet dated November 12th, 2018.
Thank you. So there are 2 pedestrian easements. I'll start with sort of the more straightforward one, I guess, which is on Athens Street. As I'm sure you're aware, Athens is a very narrow street with a narrow right-of-way and very narrow sidewalks. What we have is a roughly rectangular shaped easement along the frontage of the 14 West Broadway property, where primarily where the front of the building, on the first floor, I guess the rear of the building, I apologize, on the first floor sets back for a porte cochere and access to the garage. This will allow a full 5-foot wide sidewalk for pedestrians along the frontage of that property. The second one is a little more interesting shape on Dorchester. It provides, again, wider sidewalks, even though the sidewalks are decent on Dorchester, provides wider space. The shape that you see is the differentiation between the area in the proposed easement, which will be standard concrete sidewalk type paving, and the area behind it between that and the face of the West Broadway, 6 West Broadway building, which is, again, set back from the street. And that area between the building and the standard concrete will be a granite paver. One of the questions that had come up from staff, which we addressed, was in the area right here, where there is a proposed, which we'll get to in a minute, the crosswalk on Dorchester, where that ramp, we would provide a full 5 feet of standard sidewalk behind that to allow maneuvering around it.
So just say this back to you, on the Dot Ave side, essentially everything that will be in the pedestrian easement is going to be in concrete, so it looks seamless. And what we're seeing are a set of 5 pillars, is that right?
Yes, the rectangular shapes are columns, pillars that for the upper stories.
And so on the southernmost pillar, the base around it's going to be half concrete and half a different sort of paver?
Yes, yeah, that'll actually.
I apologize for not keying on this at your new business hearing. On Athens Street, you are providing an additional pedestrian easement. Is there a reason why you are not carrying that all the way up to West 2nd Street? I believe the property is yours, right?
Yes, as you get past that point, the building actually comes up to the property line on the first floor.
It's an existing condition.
So it would be, yes. So it wouldn't. And as you get past there, the sidewalk does widen.
No, it looks.
You see this area?
No,
Or will?
So we get to 5 feet. every
Yeah.
time.
Other questions or comments on the pedestrian easement? Mayor Todd? Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on the pedestrian easements.
I'll make a motion to approve the petition, joint petition by 6 West Broadway LLC and CPC Cornerstone Development LLC for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement adjacent to the following public ways in South Boston, as read into the record by the chair, and as shown on the set of plans entitled City of Boston, Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan, 6 and 14 West Broadway, Dorchester Avenue, and Athens Street, South Boston, one sheet dated November 12, 2018.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Moving on to our next item, on a joint petition by 6 West Broadway LLC and CPC Cornerstone Development LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in South Boston, consisting of curb realignment and sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, street trees, planters, landscaping, and driveway curb cuts. Locations are West Broadway on its northeasterly side, addresses number 6 and 14, southeast of Dorchester Avenue. Dorchester Avenue on its easterly side between West Broadway and West 2nd Street. West 2nd Street on its southerly side between Dorchester Avenue and Athens Street. Athens Street on its southwesterly side, southeast of West 2nd Street. This was new business on November 1st, 2018, and this is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Widening and Relocation Plan, 6 and 14 West Broadway, Dorchester Avenue, West 2nd Street, and Athens Street, South Boston. 2 sheets dated November 12, 2018.
Thank you. So on this sheet, just for reference, it's the same orientation, but we've zoomed out to 20 scale in order to show some work on the opposite sides of various streets. The specific repairs, as you mentioned, start at the 14 West Broadway side and run all the way around Dorchester, West 2nd, and Athens back to the sort of the other side of the 14 West Broadway project. They consist of reconstructing the concrete sidewalks, removing and resetting vertical granite curb, actually installing some vertical granite curb in areas where it didn't exist before, driveway curb cuts for both projects. For the 6 West Broadway, it's a drop-off area for the hotel with one curb cut on Dorchester and the other on West 2nd. And the 14 West Broadway has 2 curb cuts on Athens, which a porte cochere and allow access to that actually as an underground parking garage for the residents.
Do you have any visuals other than the plan drawings which you have?
We
that
do.
actually, can
So,
you please show that?
certainly.
Especially what's happening at Dorchester Ave and West 2nd Street? Not that, sir.
So this area here is the drive lane for the drop off for the hotel. Basically, underneath of these two pillars, you pull in and then pull back out on West 2nd Street.
So Dorchester Avenue is a one-way in.
Yes, the whole driveway is a one-way from Dorchester onto West 2nd. And it's simply, it's private, it's simply a drop-off area, folks checking in, etc.
And they come out on obviously West 2nd Street.
West 2nd,
and
correct.
if they want to head towards Dorchester Ave, how are you going to come out from there?
If they wanted to go back to Dorchester Avenue, they would have to take the
I'm
left.
presuming that's what they would want to do,
Yes.
right? Okay, so 80 to 90.
Presumably, most, I would imagine.
The significant majority
Yes.
is now going to enter the intersection of West 2nd Street. Yeah, like, I mean, when they pop out from here, how are they going to get themselves safely across? How is the intersection? Again, I apologize for not knowing. West 2nd Street and Dorchester Ave, is it under traffic signal control
It
or
is
is it
n-
stop sign control?
It is stop sign, it's not traffic signal
So you
control.
will have cars coming around the curve. Now remember you
Correct.
did a widening and relocation, so it's a smoother right turn. And then you have your cars coming out.
Yes, so just for reference, we're not changing that.
Widening
We're-
is just,
It's just
uh,
the right-of-way.
Right.
Paper.
The roadway curve
There
will
right
remain
now.
the same as it is now.
We
It's
are-
gonna be,
No, but I-
We are introducing the exit.
we're resetting, but we are introducing the exit movement.
And I think the issue here is, what Power is bringing up is sightline visibility of exiting traffic with oncoming traffic from Dot right onto West 2nd. Have you done a study of that?
We have not, we did not do a traffic study. I would have to go back and look.
Because it's
From-
right at the intersection.
Correct.
And anybody coming around that corner, you're right on top of that driveway.
Correct. Yeah, I would have to go back and look at the
And I
original
wasn't here on
permitting.
business, so
That's
I apologize.
quite
At
right.
that point, we did make them submit something to BTD about restricting the right,
To on red.
the right on red, because they're pulled that crosswalk on Broadway back so far. So they should, I believe that they sent a report to you
Yes.
about restrict that.
I didn't receive.
Didn't you
the
get-
report.
So at a minimum, sir, at a minimum, you should provide something in writing that details to the transportation department, if I can speak on your behalf, so that you have looked at it and it is your opinion that what is being proposed here is safe, so that if something should go south, it's on you. Am I
Correct,
very clear
yes.
on that point?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, the relocated crosswalk at Dorchester.
Dorchester
and
and-
West Broadway,
Yes.
how did that come about?
There is a TAPA agreement for the 6 West Broadway project that included that.
Because the desire line for pedestrians is where the existing
It-
crosswalk is.
And we did mention that. at the previous-
Yes,
so-
and as I
I'm
said, right, as I said,
Do
that
you think, in your own opinion, that people on West Broadway are gonna walk around the corner of that crosswalk?
most people probably not. I mean, as you know, people tend to go where they want to go, the quickest direction they could go. But that was included in a TAPA for the project, which is why we included it in this.
What was the reasoning?
So,
was it TAPA?
I was not involved at the time of the TAPA. This project was permitted by a separate entity and then purchased by the current applicants, who then inherited that agreement. So I don't know, I was not privy to those discussions, unfortunately.
So you haven't done the site work as of yet? Besides sidewalks, I mean, they're getting close, right?
Yeah, and then the sidewalks on the corner there, no, haven't been constructed.
So if we were to change the design, it wouldn't be a big issue.
I don't, not that I could think of. I guess the only question is then, is just obviously adjustments to
It's a
the
field
TAPA.
adjustment.
We can, yeah, and we can make the adjustments to your plan as you go to Mylar.
Yeah.
You know, there are multiple aspects of that crosswalk. First of
Yep.
all, it is not within the normal alignment of where a pedestrian wants to go. Let's
Correct.
put that into a side.
Yeah.
Let's assume that the law-abiding pedestrian actually uses the crosswalk. Now, from a motorist, maybe my concern is someone actually makes a right turn, okay, and the crosswalk is not where it's supposed to be, and now the driver is
Yeah.
obviously accelerating through the crosswalk where the pedestrian thinks it is safer for them to get there. So that is the
Yep.
concern I have.
No, I agree with that concern, and as I said, the only reason we did this was because it was
Because it was in the
previously agreed to between the original developer and the city and Atapa.
Okay.
It's simpler for the developer, frankly,
So you
if
mean
we
the
leave the crosswalk basically where it is now, to tell the truth.
So
So
as long as you're open to further guidance from the transportation department.
Absolutely,
To
yeah.
adjust both.
yeah, I mean it's
Please, would appreciate you being,
yeah.
having that
You do have
position.
a tree on the corner that you're proposing that would. most likely-
That tree can be relocated. I mean, it's a tree pit. We can
Yeah,
shift
and
it as
you would
needed.
be probably moved back to where you were having,
Yeah.
proposing your crosswalk.
And then for what it's worth too, that would also then allow, right now you can park further up West Broadway. As part of that relocation, we were eliminating probably two street spaces.
When somebody is
That people
illegally
would park.
parked between the curb and the
To
crosswalk.
try to, yeah.
Which
We-
further exasperates
Right.
the zone of safety for that
Yep.
pedestrian.
Yeah.
Who is going to step into the crosswalk, cars are going to come.
Yep.
Other questions or comments on this? Amy or Todd?
No, we will have, their changes incorporated,
Great.
on Mylar.
Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this, again, contingent upon BTD's final review and the alterations to the plan, both at the, looking at both the Dot Ave and West Second intersection, as well as the crosswalk on West Broadway.
So I'll make a motion to approve a joint petition by 6 West Broadway LLC and CPC Cornerstone Development LLC for specific repairs in West Broadway, Dorchester Avenue, West Second Street, Athens Street, contingent on final edits and review by BTD. And as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division, widening and relocation plan 6 and 14 West Broadway, Dorchester Avenue, West Second Street, and Athens Street, South Boston, 2 sheets dated November 12th, 2018.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to our next item, on a petition by Rail Yard Sports LLC for the vertical discontinuance of portions of the following public ways in Brighton, vertically above and below the grades of the sidewalks. Guest Street on its southerly side at address number 67 through 91, east of Life Street, and Life Street on its easterly side, south of Guest Street. This was new business on November 1st, 2018. And this is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Vertical Discontinuance Plan 67-91 Guest Street, Brighton, 4 sheets, dated October 25th, 2018.
Good morning. I'm Pat Conley from Beals Associates. I'm here for 4 separate vertical discontinuances, 2 on Guest Street, 2 on Life Street. Just to orient you, this is Boston Landing Development, and this is Guest Street here running east-west, and Life Street running north-south. This is the building that we're talking about, so there'll be 2 on Guest Street and 2 on Life Street. The first one is above grade. Would be for the building. It's 11 feet above the sidewalk. Horizontally, it goes out 9.5 feet, and it stretches up about 80 feet for the building overhang. And the other vertical discontinuance on Guest Street is below grade. It's for pressure injected footings. There'll be about 5 feet below grade, and and then extend down 30 more feet.
So, the part of the vertical discontinuance that is above sidewalk, once we discontinue that volume of space, what is going to come in that area? Balconies,
No, it'll be
wind effects,
the actual building. We kind of show here, it's a, the building comes up on the property line and then comes out. And
so
it's
the
just-
actual living space.
Yes, it'll be like office
Maybe
space.
who has the fee ownership of this?
So they do. This is a street that they just laid out on our behalf.
Oh.
We knew this was coming and we
Okay,
just,
so-
yeah. So we're all set.
The lighting is such where, I know it's minimum 10 feet.
Yep. Yeah, no,
They're all high.
this is all set, and we knew this was coming in relation to streets that they laid out.
Guest Street.
Yeah. So most,
We widen.
yeah, we widened.
They widen. This is the part of Guest Street that is within the landing area, not the other part of it.
And then moving on to Life Street, the portion above grade, just for 2 signs, will be about 17 feet above the sidewalk, minimal area. And the last is on Life Street, below grade. Is also,
What are those signs?
one says New Balance track, one is above the entrance. to the
Static?
parking. Yeah, static signs. And Life Street is below grade for, again, for fresh injected filters. And then the one abnormality or thing that's different than other submissions we've had is we requested a waiver of the appraisal. As you kind of referenced, Guest Street, Life Street, we widened them, we wanted to take that. I move for the grant.
Again, for the record, within that discontinuance area at a vertical, your structure is not going to cause any drainage issues for the pedestrians that are going underneath.
No, at the lowest point, it's 11 feet above.
Drainage, icicles, like when we have balconies of things,
Oh.
we have drainage issues where water collects, water drains,
Right,
creates
no.
little icicles and it knocks my head.
No, there won't be those issues.
So you are attesting to the fact that because your plans here do not show what you are building, all we are saying is we are discontinuing this area. And then you have added testimony to the fact that there will be a building that is going to come that has an overhang over the sidewalk, correct?
Yes.
Right. So we want to protect the people who are walking in the sidewalk.
Understood.
So you are attesting to this commission that whatever is building, whatever is built, is not going to have a draining
Yeah.
issue.
No, it will not.
Yeah, this is really sticking out of the
Just
building.
sticking out
It's the actual,
completely.
like, top.
Forward.
Other questions or comments on the vertical discontinuance? Any of your thoughts? Members of the public? I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Make a motion to approve the petition by Rail Yard Sports LLC for the vertical discontinuance of portions of the following public ways in Brighton, vertically above and below the grades of sidewalk, as read into the record by the chair. And is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division Vertical Discontinuance Plan, 6791 Guest Street, Brighton, court sheet dated October 25th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Our next item is on a petition by 173 Endicott LLC for the vertical discontinuance of portions of the following public ways in Boston proper, vertically above the grades of the sidewalks. The locations are Endicott Street on its easterly side at address number 173, south of North Margin Street, and North Margin Street on its southerly side, east of Endicott Street. This was new business on November 1st, 2018. And this is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division Discontinuance Plan, vertical 173 Endicott Street, North Margin Street, North End, one sheet dated March 6, 2018.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Joe DeGangi from Urban Core Development, project developer on behalf of 173 Endicott Street LLC, project proponent. If I could just get 1 second, my architect stepped out to make a call. Let me go grab him and I'll bring him in here. Right around the corner. Thanks.
less fee.
Thank you.
Wow.
Ask and you shall receive.
Good morning, Peter Vanko, architect.
You want to explain briefly the project? I know you did a new business.
Certainly. That'd be great. Yes, what you have in front of you is a new 4-unit condo building in the north end. We're asking for the ability to overhang the public realm with traditional bays that you would see in a semi-traditional form with this building overhang over the sidewalk. And, so it's 4 units of new condominiums over a parking deck. We're reutilizing the existing curb cuts. Anything else to add?
The bays extend, what are they, 18?
They range from 18 inches to a little over 2 feet.
But in neither case, there's 3 bays, and no case do they exceed halfway through the side. Yeah.
As far as the construction management plan, have you submitted one to the Transportation Department? The construction methodology?
Sorry?
Have you submitted a construction management plan to the department?
No, that would be selected, that's being done by our GC. We don't have any control of that.
Who's the GC?
Yeah, we don't have one selected yet.
It's going to be required before you put a shovel in the ground.
Absolutely.
You get no permits.
No problem. No problem.
When are you planning on putting a shovel into the ground?
All we've done so far is we pulled the Public Works Department to bring the utilities in. We're probably planning on doing the excavation within the next month or so.
Again, excavation is the permit.
No,
issued
correct,
by Public
correct.
Works and Transportation. You
Yep.
need CMP.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's an awesome location, so, but there's still a.
I'm sorry?
It's a great location.
Yep.
But there's still both pedestrian and vehicular traffic.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Public process? Have you had meetings with the community?
None.
Yeah, no, meetings with the community, absolutely. I mean, it was an as-of-right project. We started this 3 years ago, trying to
Yeah.
get some variances. We ultimately did an as-of-right project, so we've exhausted the community process.
Yeah, and certainly Maria Lanza,
Yep.
we've dealt with Maria and we have her approval. You'll see a support letter from her. So absolutely, we've undergone the public process.
Very good.
Any questions or comments on the discontinuance? From your time? Members of the public? I'll entertain a motion on the vertical discontinuance.
I make a motion on the petition by 173 Endicott LLC for the vertical discontinuance on Endicott Street and North Margin Street, as shown on the set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Discontinuance Plan, Vertical, 173 Endicott Street, North Margin Street, North End, one sheet dated March 6, 2018.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is on a petition by Eversource Energy for a grant of location to install new electrical transmission line infrastructure within Summer Street, South Boston, north of Powerhouse Street. This was new business on November 1st, 2018. This is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, Powerhouse Street and Summer Street, South Boston, one sheet dated October 2018.
Hi.
Morning.
Good morning. My name is Kristen Trudell. I'm the project manager for this project for Eversource Energy.
Mike Bernatsky, Assistant Project Manager with Eversource.
So just a brief summary. So we are petitioning the board for grant of location for a approximate 500-foot section of new transmission line on Summer Street between Powerhouse Street and the Massport Freight Corridor Bridge. This is a small section of a 4.2 mile transmission line that will service the MWRA wastewater treatment plant at Deer Island. So we do have a traffic management plan, and that's been approved. We also have updated the plans to show curb-to-curb paving after our last meeting here.
I know you discussed this in new business, but can you walk us through the coordination you're doing with Massport and what your timeline is?
Sure. So currently we have an easement agreement with Massport in place. We also have an easement agreement with the owners of Powerhouse Street that's in place. Currently, we are in construction on Massport, installing conduits. The construction on Powerhouse Street have been probably 95% complete. We've actually started the marine portion of the construction. For this piece on Summer Street, we're ready to go. So as soon as we complete this process, we'll start the process of street opening permits, and we'll start construction. The goal is to have everything, all the conduit work, completed by March of 2019.
Just as a matter of interest, Massport, where you're constructing, you're out there on their Hall Road now?
So we are actually in the terminal itself, so we haven't started the construction on the Hall Road, but the Hall Road, those conduits will be installed in brackets underneath the bridge. So the paved surface we won't disturb on the road.
Okay. When are they going to permit? What hours are they giving you on that section?
So at Conley Terminal, we're working 6/10s on their property. They're interested in getting us out of there. Yep. So it's.
You won't get 6/10.
No.
What's the expected duration that you'll be on Summer Street?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're gonna be working nights, and it's about a 500-foot section. It will be kind of slower going just because of the utility congestion on that street and the night work. So it could be up to like 3 weeks of work on that street.
And it's going to be during the winter?
Yeah, like, you know, I think the concerns we may have is the fact that it's going to snow, and it will snow, and it is snow season coming. That's one. Two, the timeline which you propose is through our winter moratorium. Three, this route on Summer Street through here is a relief valve for South Boston to actually get out of South Boston.
Yes.
Okay. So plus we may have our own thoughts about the need to plate or the availability of plating. Like I think right now we are not allowing any plating tonight, right? Okay.
Yeah. So we're
so you've given all of that some thought to get it all done during the winter moratorium and be done by March?
Yes, so we're, to help alleviate that is the reason we're doing it at night, and you know, working through the moratorium committee, I think on a weekly basis, getting that go, no-go for our work based on weather, and then understanding that like street plates would have to be recessed for these winter conditions.
Well, through the MWA, I suppose I'll have to support it and make the motion. But I'm sure the city is interested in how that's going to be restored after the winter, because it's going to thaw. The trenches, hopefully, going to consolidate and then need to be restored.
They've
Right?
committed to curb to curb
Yes.
repaving.
Well, that is great.
Other questions or comments? Amy or Todd?
Okay.
Members of the public? I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make the motion on a petition by Eversource Energy for a grant of location in Summer Street, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, Powerhouse Street and Summer Street, South Boston, one sheet dated October 28th.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our final public hearing item is on a petition by Tremont 958 Restaurant Corporation for the granting of a sidewalk cafe license for seasonal outdoor seating within Tremont Street, Boston proper, located on its southeasterly side at address numbers 950 to 958, northeast of Hammond Street, and consisting of seating for 28 persons and approximately 358 square feet within the public way. This was new business on November 1st, 2018. And this is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Sidewalk Cafe, 950-958 Tremont Street, Slade's Bar and Grill, Boston, one sheet dated August 1st, 2018.
Hello, I'm Paige Thompson, the project manager for Slade's Bar and Grill, here to request a license to have a sidewalk cafe in the front and on the sides of the restaurant located at 950 958 Tremont Street.
Just for the record, ma'am, the PIC is being petitioned only for on the Tremont Street because on the side
Of the Hammond Street.
they
Correct.
are yours on your private
Yes,
property.
correct.
We just want the total seat count. and
True,
all that
true,
stuff.
but just
So it's 28 seats. You just want the total seat count for the
No,
front?
we're just, all that we're approving here today is the part that's in the public way.
Public
way
And
on-
the private property is.
on Tremont Street.
Okay,
The stuff on Hammond Street is all yours.
correct.
Other questions or comments?
The Transportation Department's looked at it, as far as the pedestrian level service, all good, so we're glad to support this project.
Amir Top? Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Making a motion to approve the petition by Tremont 958 Restaurant Corporation for the granting of a sidewalk cafe license for seasonal outdoor seating within Tremont Street, Boston proper, located on the southeasterly side at addresses number 950, 958, as read into the record by the chair, and that's shown on the plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Sidewalk Cafe, 950, 958 Tremont Street, Slade Bar and Grill, Boston, one sheet dated August 1st, 2018.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to new business, our first item is 1000 Boylston Street, Cambria Street, Dalton Street, Scotia Street, St. Cecilia Street, and Roxbury, pedestrian easement, specific repairs, on a set of joint petition by 1000 Boylston Street owner LLC, Prudential Insurance Company of America, and the Massachusetts Department of Transportation.
Good morning, members of the commission. My name is Michael Flannery from Goulson and Stores. I'm here on behalf of Weiner Ventures LLC, which is the proponent and developer of the 1000 Boylston Street project. I'm here today with members of our project team, Donnie Levine, our executive project manager, Kevin Lennon from Elkus Manfredi, our project architect, David Bone and Mark Youngins from VHB, our civil and traffic consultants. We're here today on petitions for specific repair as well as some pedestrian easements. The specific repairs are proposed around the perimeter of our site on Boylston Street, St. Cecilia Street, Cambria Street, and Scotia Street. As I think you know, this is partially a project that has a terra firma parcel, partially a project of air rights, including air rights over MassDOT Turnpike, and is air rights parcel 15 along the Massachusetts Turnpike. In terms of our pedestrian easements, you'll see this in Kevin's presentation, but all of our frontage along Boylston Street is leases. Some of it is will be leased from MassDOT. The rest of it is leased from the Prudential Insurance Company, which is why they've co-petitioned. When we met with staff to review specific repair, we determined that an area on our property, because we're going to have a modest setback from Boylston Street, the streetscape there is going to look and feel like part of the sidewalk. So we were requested to provide a sidewalk easement to the city. We consulted with our landlords because ultimately they need to grant that easement, and they consented to that. So that is part of our package today. I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Lennon, who will give a brief project overview.
I think we did this just a couple weeks ago, but you know the site on Boylston Street, several parcels. Project is a 33-story residential building, building consisting of 2 levels retail, 2 levels of parking, a amenity floor, and then the tower above. Our site.
Kevin, sorry, just to be clear on the previous image, we're only talking about the complex that is east of Mass Ave, right? Not the other one, which is essentially ghosted in.
Yes, right here.
Right.
Right. Everything that's ghosted in there is sort of things that are kind of under review by the city at the moment. Site, as Mike was saying, we have frontage along Dalton Street, Boylston Street, St. Cecilia, and Scotia Street. So on the ground plane, we're improving all of those areas along here, as well as a little bit of the area that goes down Cambridge Street. The existing sidewalk on Boylston Street is about 8 or 9 feet wide. We're sort of extending that now to 18 feet of frontage along here, which will have, you know, a furniture zone, a pedestrian zone, and a small frontage zone along the building. Trying to be in keeping with the police streets concept. We are showing trees in here, which are in planters. Those are, you know, we've gone through BCDC with all that. We've been engaged in conversations with MassDOT about the feasibility of that. But the main side, you know, main sidewalks, the pedestrian pathway will be concrete. We do have, on the outside of that, we do have some other materials that are stone along the frontage zone and frontage zone. We are improving sidewalks, curb cuts across Dalton Street, across Boylston Street, across St. Cecilia Street to the bus stop, which there's no curb cut there today. As we come down here through St. Cecilia Street, we've reworked the building to provide a much wider area for crossing here for pedestrians. And then again, this is just sort of sidewalk with a very small zone for lighting, essentially running down St. Cecilia and Scotia Streets.
I'm Mark Yagans with VHB. I'll go a little deeper if you'd like. But mainly, I think the key thing to remember is everything up till this point is on a structure, and everything kind of tips one way or the other depending on which side of the structure you're on. We've spent a lot of time with the BPDA design folks and the disabilities folks. Actually, Sarah's here, trying to come up with a plan that improves the current condition and provides good access to good pedestrian routes. We have about 7.9 feet clear here along Boylston Street behind the planters. A couple spots where coming around the corner, we were as little as 7, but generally provide more than that almost everywhere. We provide infiltration where we can. A lot of this is on a deck. We can't do permeable edge, but we provide permeable edge on the streets that are on terra firma. Yes.
If I may interrupt you.
Sure.
So you said that clear pedestrian width that is left after you are done putting planters and after you have given us the pedestrian easement is 7.9 feet on Boylston Street?
I'm sorry, it's 11.6, 11 feet 6 inches. I grabbed my other street number, 11'6".
And you are of the opinion that the 11 feet that is remaining is adequate to serve the pedestrian traffic that will come off Mass Ave down Boylston Street, not only to support your project, but all the other elements that are there on Boylston Street?
We believe so. It's considerably more than what's there now, and it's reasonably consistent with projects further down Boylston Street.
Meaning by the time you go past the convention center or through
Correct. The convention center is a different condition, yes.
There's a median, I believe, on Boylston Street around that area.
There is.
I believe there are some planters. Any conversations, Donnie, between you all and whoever, because I know the BBDA through other elements are continuing to I'm not sure who is maintaining those planters.
Sure.
Is there a conversation between you and them to ensure that the planter vocabulary is, there's commonality between
Sure,
the two?
sure. So Donnie Levine, Executive Project Director for the developer. That's an ongoing conversation because it's a MassDOT-owned bridge. So we go through with MassDOT on a series of back and forth and on the comment resolution form. So right now it's subject to MassDOT's review and approval.
I stand to be corrected, Donnie, don't want to labor too much. This may be a arrangement that was pulled together some years back between the business community within the Boylston Street, okay, where they were trying to beautify Boylston Street.
Oh. Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay, so it may not be completely within Mass DOT. There may be all parties in agreement to. So my question is the day-to-day maintenance of the plants that are in the planter. Okay, because there were some concerns when those planters initially went in. They were getting hit. The flowers die. So the business community may have stepped in to manage it. Now that asset is going to be right in front of your property. Those two need to be complementary to each other. You are doing a really nice project over here.
Got it. Now I understand that. Got it. So we can discuss that as we go forward on the planters.
My backdoor way of saying that you may need a stronger presence in keeping those plants.
Got it. Understood. And that's something we can easily and clearly discuss. Absolutely. Thank you.
Amy, who owns Cambria Street as it comes into the Heinz?
I mean, it's our street. I don't know the fee ownership. That's the question.
Is one of the motions going to be basically a discontinuance over that roadway?
Yep. Yeah, so that actually appeared last hearing, but won't come back for a public hearing until next hearing, so that the specific repair and easement actions could catch up with their discontinuance actions.
I can say that all the areas at Cambria Street where we need discontinuances are owned in fee by the city.
And will be the subject of a BPDA taking later on today.
Also, there are.
And that taking for what?
For all of the discontinuance areas on all 3 streets, right? 3 that are the subject of today's BPDA hearing?
Yeah, the takings of, the major piece is the building's going to span Cambria Street. But we have some subsurface under the sidewalks at Cambria Street. We have a wind canopy that wraps around the building, which overhangs other streets, Boylston, St. Cecilia, and Scotia by about 30 feet, as well as Dalton, although we don't need a taking for Dalton. So all those vertical areas are going to be taken by the BPDA, and we were before the commission a couple weeks ago.
As part of the process, we basically do a discontinuance of the vertical.
Yep.
And basically, then they're gonna petition us to convey that to the BRA.
So the BPDA will take against us, and they will then be the owner when we get to the public hearing, so that when we discontinue those air rights, BPDA will be the owner at that vote that we take.
So they're gonna be a co-petitioner.
They were.
Yeah.
And why would we do that? Just
ask.
You know,
Right, so I mean, or no building.
Oh, but as you have stated, you are of the opinion that the discontinuances, at least above ground, is because the BPDA is asking for wind management, right?
Yeah, it does mitigate the wind impacts on the pedestrians.
It is a known element in most of the downtown area, right? As architects, you all understand that tall buildings do create wind effects. So it's like that's a known feature which needs to be accommodated on any project.
So we had some technical comments along the way from Boston Water and Sewer about how we're maintaining the planters on Boylston Street, whether or not we were including the right infrastructure with the site, and we made those updates to the Boston Water and Sewer site plan, which is currently under review. And some questions about how pedestrians worked on Cambria Street. So that and some questions from Eversource on the existing manholes, which we exhaustively researched, and we were able to answer their questions on what was existing and what wasn't. And the only outstanding question came from City Services and making sure that we find a relocation of the existing signposts that's out there, which is still in process.
This conversation may have already happened, but as you know, as you may know, we are rebuilding sections of the sidewalk along Boylston Street. The city is doing that. There's a particular sort of design standard we are using. Is that design standard consistent in this section?
I don't, there's a high degree of possibility that it is not, but at the same time, Chief, keep on the table where if something better is decided over here, that we keep that option open as much as we did on another part of Boylston Street in that one full block. I forget which block it
Still
was.
looking for something to like.
To that point, though, there can just be a conversation about, just to have some sort of visual continuity to the extent that that is feasible in the stretch.
True.
That'd be great.
Okay, between. So,
Okay. We sort of took that cue of pavers on the edge and concrete
Yeah,
inside,
it's-
but, you know, even.
It
though
has
this
that
is a-
library feel, which
Yeah.
I appreciate. If we can just explore that to make sure that we are sort of preserving some degree of urban design consistency throughout the core.
What is the sidewalk width proposed on St. Cecilia? Clear path of travel?
On St. Cecilia, it's 5 foot of concrete, 1.9 feet of paver edge.
So there's a clear path of travel of 5 feet?
Correct. The street itself is about 26 feet wide. No parking on one side, loading zone on the other to serve Berkeley.
So the engineering team's done a great job working with us on the water and sewer aspects. We're probably approaching a signed site plan very soon. The concern I brought up at the last public hearing is still the concern that I'll bring up now, is that I see that a portion of Scotia Street is proposed to be two-way, and that translating to a two-way on St. Cecilia. And I know that is to accommodate the parking garage exit. But it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because it appears that what we're doing is we're allowing traffic to enter Boylston Street at a unregulated intersection where that section of Boylston Street I would describe as a 4-lane divided highway. So if you continue to have Scotia Street be one way, where you would direct traffic to Dalton, they would then make a left on Dalton and end up at a traffic signal. At that traffic signal, they could go left, right, or straight. By allowing people to make a right out of the garage onto St. Cecilia, you are, number one, faced with a loading dock, and then number two, faced with a high level of service road, where most likely you're looking to take a left. So you'll be peeking past traffic that is headed north to see if you can find a gap to shoot left into what is most likely a queue at the traffic light. So perhaps we could walk me through why those decisions are made, because I'm having a hard time digesting what the need is for that.
So let me just, before we go to that, let me just state for the record that BTD Engineering is opposed to that two-way, unequivocally. And that's been our position for the reasons that you made right there. So you can carry on now.
Okay. There's been a lot of discussion about this. Actually, I'm going to turn it over to David Bone, who knows the details far better than I do. So, Dave, maybe you want.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Bone, VHB. I've been involved in the transportation component of this project since its inception. A little bit of history. The original concept was to provide a driveway on Dalton Street to serve the project. That was proposed, fairly close to the entrance to the adjacent parking garage and very close to the signal. That's where we had place to land on a public street. We never envisioned having access on Boylston Street. We knew that that would not be in the city's best interest. So the original concept was a driveway over here. As the project evolved...
Excuse me, David.
Yep.
That original concept, who came up with the original concept to have traffic come out on Dalton Street?
I think that was the original concept developed by the architectural team,
by
the
the
project team,
architects.
the original team that developed the first concept for the project. Trying to figure out how can we make this work, how do we service the parking
So just to go
facility.
back a little bit in history, it was a single tower, there was no, it was a different project when we were awarded the project with MassDOT. We subsequently went to 2 towers, and so what David's referencing is when we did have the 2-tower scheme, that we were looking at Dalton Street as a means of egress for the parking garage. We then subsequently went through the city BPDA process, Article 80. We removed one of the towers, and it configured everything very differently, so that's when we removed the Dalton Street need to use even as a concept for traffic to come out of our garage. That's how it evolved to where we are today, with a single tower that has parking on levels 3 and 4 that come up from an elevator off of Scotia Street.
No, I think it's better on Scotia Street than at Dalton, so I think
And
that's
just-
definitely an improvement.
Thank you. And for clarification, St. Cecilia Street is currently, everything is currently, that's a two-way street
Two-way
currently today. So the proposal is only to be able to come out of the garage, because otherwise people would go up Scotia Street, go to Dalton, take a right, take another right on Belvedere, and come right around to the same point that they currently would be on now. So they'd be driving around the block in a longer fashion and still getting to the same point, and still being able to come down St. Cecilia Street to Boylston Street, taking a right or left. So they could still do that either way.
What we've been trying to do is to provide a connection between the garage and the front entry to the project on Boylston Street. So the idea is that there's a driveway proposed to and from the parking garage off of Scotia Street. And the idea was, and the request is, for a short 100-foot-long two-way section of Scotia Street to allow that exiting traffic to come here to get to Boylston Street, to get to the front door. We recognize that the left turn out of St. Cecilia Street onto Boylston Street is potentially problematic. It was something we looked at in the Article 80 process, and one of the recommendations is a turn restriction to prevent that move.
Okay, so right turn only there. I think that would, right turn only?
Right turn only. Basically what we're suggesting is wait and determine whether or not that actually manifests itself as a problem. If it does, we've suggested that it be a right turn only.
So we're gonna wait to see if we
Somewhat
have
close.
introduced a dangerous condition, and then after something happens, we're going
You said your
to...
professional recommendation here.
It's an existing two-way street. You can currently make a left turn out of St.
I know
Cecilia
that,
Street
but
today.
you're adding more traffic into the mix.
I'm sorry.
You're adding more traffic into the mix.
We're adding
This is your professional recommendation, that we wait and see until something happens to do something?
Not at all. What we're
Maybe I
suggesting,
misheard
yeah,
then.
what we're suggesting is that we think that it will work okay. And particularly during the afternoon peak hour, we identified this as a potential concern. The solution to a potential concern is restricting left turns out of here. There are people today, plenty of them, who are using St. Cecilia Street as a two-way street to make that move today. There are also people that, for various reasons, come down Boylston Street and skirt around this island to make
a U-turn.
U-turn.
Yeah,
And
that's why I'm bringing it up, because I see it today, and I think it should be improved upon.
as the development happens on the adjacent parcel, Berkeley College of Music site, I think this is going to change its configuration, and that U-turn that happens there would go away. In response to your specific concern, I'm worried about people that would come out of the driveway, come down Scotia Street, get to Dalton, wait, go through the signal,
And do a
and they
U-turn.
want to get to the front door, and they're going to make a U-turn on Boylston Street.
But,
And
but,
that's
but,
something
you know
we're trying to
something,
discourage.
what we had said all along relative to where your garage is and the valet service was to take place in the building, in the parking area. So they're not coming to the front door, it occurs on-site in the building.
For the residents of the building, that is the plan. For
Correct.
people that are going to the restaurant that is likely to be located on Boylston Street with frontage here, I don't think that's
I'm with you on the
a process that will likely operate that way.
We definitely don't want that U-turn there. So when people come out of the garage to the front door, is there a pull-in? Is there a bump out? Or is this going to be in a traffic lane?
It's not in a traffic lane. It's currently, there's a parking lane that runs along the entire length of the block.
Yep.
What the proponent is going to do is petition for a roughly 75 or 80 foot long section of the street to be designated as valet.
Valet loading.
3 or 4 parking spaces that would be operated, professionally managed and operated from the curb. That's the intention. We're not creating any more obstructions to traffic. We specifically are not adding neck downs. We want to make sure that the traffic and the truck activity that's moving in and out of the Heinz is not interfered with as a result of these changes. And that's how we've come to the circulation plan that you see before you today.
Yeah, so I do agree that if we made St. Cecilia one way towards Scotia, you might see people coming out to Dalton and then doing that U-turn, and that is probably the most dangerous condition. But the left-hand turn out of St. Cecilia, I think, is a dangerous condition as well. So I would support the right-hand turn only. And I would be vigilant of congestion on Boylston Street as a result of double parking. It's, I think we all know what that stretch is like. So I just want to make those comments. But
This is a portion that doesn't experience that because there is no use next to it. Right now, it's a...
now it doesn't experience that.
Exactly, and we're aware of it, and having it managed and having a valet present is going to go a long way to help keep that working. It's the city's choice. If the city chooses to restrict the left turn out now, that's something that could be done today to discourage people from making that maneuver.
Mr. Bowen?
Yes.
The proximity of the St. Cecilia / Boylston intersection to Mass Ave, Boylston, how far are they apart?
We're about halfway between the two of them.
In terms of,
I don't know, 300 feet in either direction.
Have you ever given some consideration to putting a traffic signal over there so that it can be properly managed if need to in the future?
It was something that was considered. We did not think that it was warranted or justified for this project. The spacing is close. There are queues that build up during the peak hours, particularly from the Mass Ave intersection headed west out Boylston Street. And we didn't think that a signal at this location was something that we felt was necessary, given the volumes are not
Yeah,
particularly
I doubt
high
the
here.
loadings coming off St. Cecilia warrant the control, right?
I missed the question, I'm sorry.
The combined effects that are going to come over
There are a lot of things that happen in this space. You have turns, the Heinz trucks are maneuvering through here. They take up a lot of space.
That would have been considered, but we rejected the idea of the two-way. So now it's back on. I don't know quite where it's coming from, but we're on record. I mean, I've sent that out as far as that two-way on Scotia not being supported.
So that needs to be sorted out before we...
And I sat down with our planning people and I was very clear on what our position was.
All right, thank you for walking me through that circulation.
Trying to simplify it and make it as straightforward as possible.
It's a good point on the U-turns.
The last piece is the pedestrian easement on Boylston Street. The pedestrian easement is essentially offset from the building about a foot or so. You know, if we don't touch the building and the building changed at all, then we don't have to fix everything. So it maximizes the width from end to end, and it's about 6 feet of pedestrian easement. Reasonably straightforward. Otherwise, we have draft LMIs and pedestrian easement documentation, and I think we're in reasonably good shape from the paperwork side of things.
Other questions or comments on either the repair plan or the easements? Right here, Todd.
Yeah.
Mark, you have presented a lot of information to us, so it will require us to do some field review, so we reserve the right to convey additional thoughts to you through ESC staff.
Sure. We're available.
Members of the public?
If I can give them some good news, the construction management plan was signed early this week.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
That was a good job done by you.
Thank you.
So I do think between now and December 6th, which would be the next PIC hearing, there should at least be the conversation with Public Works about the design treatment along the sidewalk, as well as the conversation with BTD about the actual either turn restrictions or flow of traffic around this particular property. So we make sure both those things happen. But does 3 weeks work for you to get both those things done? Okay. We'll see you on December 6th.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Our next item of new business is 775 Beacon Street, Boston proper, vertical discontinuances on a joint petition by Fenway Center LLC and the Massachusetts Department of Transportation.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Kevin Wright from VHB. I'm here with John Rosenthal, Matt Edling from the ownership team, and Paul Maloney from TAT, the architect. We're here to present the Fenway Center 775 Beacon Street vertical discontinuances for projections that are on the Beacon Street side of the building. We were here a few months ago presenting a few other things for the project, and we're back before you today. During that time, we've mailed out the necessary notifications to the different departments. We've obtained a title opinion and appraisal, which we've submitted. We've gotten no objection responses from BWC, MBTA, Capital Delivery, ISD, Neighborhood Services, MBTA Power, Property Management, as well as Light Tower, National Grid, Veolia, and RCN, to name a few. We have a rendering here today just to kind of give you an idea of where we're located and talking about these projections. There are 4 that are before you. As you can see, there's the first one. There's another one here, here, and then at the roof level. At this time, I wanted to walk you through the plan. There are 4 projections, as we noticed. 3 of them are approximately the same size, 113 square feet, which are varying in projections from where they come out of the public right-of-way. The third one, which is discontinuance C, is approximately 46 square feet, which is a little bit smaller than the other 3. These projections.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Maybe these are volumetric easements, right? Yep. So if you could, since these are volumetric easements, it is not, it's a combination of square footage times height. So if you can add that type of testimony, it will be more sensible versus a surface discontinuance.
Sure. These areas are volumetric as well, as you say. The first one goes at an elevation from 61 feet above the ground elevation to a point of 65.
5 feet and 1 square footage. Like if I'm building a room, it is 5 feet high. What is the square footage of my floor?
113 square feet.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's 120 square feet by 5 feet.
Correct.
That's the space, and you have 3 of those.
Correct.
Plus another smaller portion.
The smaller one, yes, is a little bit smaller. It's 147 to 151, which is about 4 feet or so. And we're consistent with, like I said, the 3 for discontinuance A, B, and D. They're approximately the same size, and the C is the smaller one, which is just under the elevation. You can see the elevation drawing here on the PIC plan. We've got the top one at the roof level, then the smaller portion just underneath that, and then the 2 A and B discontinuance areas as well.
Did you say that you have done an appraisal on this?
We have done an appraisal.
Is it something you can share with us? Or?
The comments came back that it's nominal. We've shared it with.
Nominal?
Yeah.
You lost me.
Not worth anything, we'll keep it.
Exactly. Okay, so that's not where I was going. Sorry. So I think we all know where this location is, and for some reason my brain doesn't connect the 2 dots, location and the word nominal. Okay.
So
I'd like to know who does these appraisals, because I would really like to have that same person, if they are qualified to business in the good commonwealth, to serve some of our other needs. So, short of that, if you could be.
So the appraisal was done by, oh, sorry.
That's not information.
Oh.
I'm just having difficulty connecting the nominal, so we will consult.
Yeah, so
start.
we want to reconsider this appraisal for an actual value, and if you can't provide one, we will provide one based on the square footage of the area.
Okay.
And what we feel is fair market
It's
value.
about 120 feet, I mean, times 5 feet, you know, then put a, that's not small.
Right.
And this is not next to my.
There will be a
neighbor.
cost.
Right,
We're
no.
provided or we are.
Right, we understand that there's a cost. The title opinion reflects that it's state, and we know that this is a city of Boston right-of-way for Beacon Street, and that there's a cost associated with that.
It's a great project, let's just do what needs to be done to get this project going.
Right. We are in the ground doing construction, and we're moving along. We're working with BTD on the traffic signal. The conceptual design report has been submitted, design submission, and we're working to get through the comments on the process with that for BTD.
We'll get your tower crane up next weekend, so it'll be good to go.
Governor, this will extend about 6.8 feet into the sidewalk, leaving a balance of around 3.2. Amy, what's our maximum sort of coverage of a sidewalk that we have?
2/3.
2/3.
Right. So 2/3. When you look at the area that discontinued, there's an actual 6-inch buffer around, so that the actual projection is no more than 2/3. Correct. It's no more than 2/3.
We should just clarify that on the plans because it's showing
Okay.
less than 2/3 on the, or more than 2/3. Sorry.
Is it balconies that are coming up? Or
What is the projection?
what is, like, once we give it up, what gets put back in place?
Yeah, I'm Paul Maloney with the architectural team. These are just metal panel bands. They're just architectural elements of the building. There's no occupied space up there. It's just detail banding.
Would truly appreciate if you could translate that into me in a.
Dan, could you point that out on the rendering where that is?
So this white band right here,
Yep.
that turns that corner, that's what we're talking about. And that occurs here, here, and here, and then this is the smaller band.
And the singular purpose of that detail is for architectural purposes or structural or wind mitigation or
Architectural.
whichever the way one wants to coin that.
Architectural purposes.
Purely architectural.
Yeah, just to make the building better looking.
Better looking.
Yeah, it's a large mass and to add more articulation
So
to the
just
structure.
break that monotonous.
Correct.
Any interest over time in putting signage on it, or this is just, it's, the banding alone is the intent?
Purely detailed.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments on this?
I'm sorry, I just hate to labor the point. If it is just for a banding, do you need that 5 feet itself? So the architects give it some thought.
The bands themselves are not.
That's what I'm thinking. Like I'm lost as to why you need a 5-foot depth discontinuance, unless I'm going to stand on it. And I'm a
Well,
short person.
the one that's at the lowest point that we first referenced to, it encompasses the whole area. That's because there's a part of this lower banding that kind of sticks out and up, and we're capturing all of that in this.
You mean it slopes up?
Yeah. Well,
So it's a square versus them giving us triangles everywhere.
yeah, we wanted to give you an even discontinued area versus jutting up and then coming out.
All right, so the actual space is far less than the amount which is being asked for discontinuance.
It's a diagonal line.
And when you look at it in plan,
No,
view, it kind
see,
of-
that makes more sense to understand the volume which you are discontinuing and what's coming back in place.
So presenting both what we're asking for is a discontinuance and what the actual banding that we're requesting is.
And I apologize if you covered this, but so the treatment for rain, snow, ice, et cetera, how are you sort of addressing that within the design?
Internally drainage.
Okay.
And egress.
Of these little details.
Yeah, the only one that doesn't have heat trace is the one that's up at the roof level, and that slopes back as part of the roof, so.
Yeah, I mean, as we kind of implied, it's not necessary to do these, it's just better looking, I think, from the public realm.
Looks fantastic.
Other questions or comments? Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right, see you guys in 3 weeks. Does that work?
Yes, thank you very much.
Until December 6th. Our next item is 20 West 5th Street, Gold Street, A Street in South Boston, a discontinuance, pedestrian easement, specific repairs on a set of joint petitions by West Block LLC and the Mass Bay Credit Team.
Good morning. My name is James Downing from Howard Stein Hudson. I'm joined today by Tom Broderick and Tim Russell from West Block LLC. And we're here to present the specific repair plan, the discontinuance plan, and the pedestrian easement for the development at 20 West 5th. The proposed project will be a 6-story building with approximately 54 units. The vehicle access to the project will be from Gold Street. The specific repair plan for West 5th Street is currently shown here. We're proposing to install 7 new street trees with a 3.5-foot porous paver strip in between the street trees with a 5-foot wide continuous concrete cement sidewalk. The property line and the curb line are not exactly parallel. Due to this, there is a pinch point on the east side, which is currently located here, with only 4.5 feet of width behind the tree pit. Due to that fact, we're going to grant an easement, pedestrian easement, to allow for a continuous 5-foot continuous sidewalk, cement concrete sidewalk to be installed, which is represented on.
Sarah, are you, sorry, Sarah. You are okay with it? Yes. Right.
So to make things easier, we're just granting the pedestrian easement along the entire property line, basically 158 feet from here all the way across to allow for the 5-foot continuous travel width. The next item that we're presenting is the discontinuance plan for Gold Street. So today, Gold Street does not have an ADA compliant sidewalk. It's currently only 20 feet wide. So our plan is to basically make this a shared street. We'll be planning on raising the street.
It won't be a street.
Sorry.
And we're discontinuing it, and then.
We're going to raise the profile.
Asphalt to them.
Correct. This will allow us to.
Maybe one more time, they are taking the whole street.
So this is the stub end of Gold Street that goes to the Hall Road and then just falls off the cliff there. So the original plan was to put a park on the back half of it and leave vehicular access, but the vehicular access only their garage door, which you can only get to if you can get into the garage. So there is no way to turn around or anything. So the beginning portion of it will become the driveway to their garage door. This back half of it will become a pocket park.
How about the other butter?
Yeah.
They are co-petitioner, right?
Mass petitioner. They also have, they'll have a cross easement with the abutter to maintain equal access going forward. So it'll look and feel the same, other than it'll have a pocket park at the end of it, but it just won't be a city street.
So just Mass Bay owns both parking lots in the building.
Yep, so they own the corner parking lot, and then they're the entire north side of Gold Street, the entire abutter along that edge.
Oh, Mass Bay owns the parking lot adjacent to this
Yep,
project?
there's only 2 abutters, yeah. So that's Mass Bay, the whole north side is Mass Bay, and then this project are all of the abutters.
This is replacing Colmar Belting Company and the metal shed.
Yes.
Becomes a 6-story building.
Right.
But Mass Bay, who then takes ownership of Gold Street?
It's going to be an easement that they're going to co-own it with Mass Bay.
Okay. All right, so can I just derail for a second? Where are your utilities coming out onto? Onto West Fifth? Sewer, water?
Yes.
Okay, it's all coming out on the West Fifth? Okay, so in researching that easement that we had to do, we no longer want that sewer on Gold Street because now it's not going to be a public way and it only serves one entity. So that's not what we do. So that's going to become a private lateral. So we'll need to work through that as part of this project. And I don't know if that happens on the site plan level, BWC site plan, or if that, I'm assuming that does, but it might be in conjunction with the PSA.
Put it on both plans and then we're like.
Yeah, so that's the new development. So because I couldn't make heads or tail of who, was it the bank that wanted Gold Street or was it on the south side? So now I think I got it figured out. Either way, it's only going to serve one entity. It's not going to be a private road anymore.
Mike, are there any other utilities on Gold Street other than you?
Yes, there are.
On Gold Street?
On Gold Street, correct. There's a
Are there any other utilities that are subsurface on Gold Street that is going to be discontinued now, which denies public access?
So because all of the utilities that go down this portion of Gold Street serve only them,
So
they are all private now coming from.
But do those utilities know that fact?
What?
Do those utilities
Yes,
know?
well, everybody was notified through this process, but it's basically it's now a private lateral from A in.
As part of this process, we have granted easements to Verizon,
That's what I'm
Eversource, and National Grid. I'm not sure if they're going to use Gold Street for utilities in the future, but they'll have the right.
They have the rights. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, that definitely made everything more clear. Thank you.
Which utilities were those?
Eversource, National Grid, and Verizon.
As far as emergency services, sign off for notification, Captain Boyle, Area 8, C6, Fire Department, EMS, you're aware of this?
We can make sure that happens.
Please do, because, you know, basically discontinuance of streets and in their CAD system and response, they need to be fully on board with this.
Maybe do we have fee ownership or what's the
So
deal on
this,
that?
yeah, this is gonna go to city council.
Okay. So would that,
So we will need an appraisal.
right, and these nice folks, they know that.
Would this still be signed as Gold Street a private way, or is this?
No.
Okay,
Well, that'll
gone.
go back.
Real
Exactly,
estate,
so we should
flat
just,
land.
just need to make
Gold
sure
Street's
it's,
not today.
right, it's just a driveway. So Gold Street basically,
So more of the import of it.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I think it's an improvement. It'll be good.
And then basically, if we discontinue Gold Street and we raise the surface up, we'll need to construct basically a new driveway access on A Street, which is the last specific repair plan that we're presenting as well. Just this area here.
So you're making it look more like a driveway versus making it look like a street?
Correct.
So the sidewalk carries through with an apron?
Yep.
And with the driveway, I mean, you're right at the traffic signal.
Pardon me?
Is there gonna be a restriction, a left turn restriction coming out of the driveway?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that for you.
So when you raise Gold Street, because right now it's, sloping towards A Street away from the Hall Road, but it starts steep and then it goes flat, are you going to do your own private drainage there, or is it not going to require, are you still just going to keep cross slope to sheet drain? Or?
Ideally, yes. There's catch basins pretty much at the beginning of.
There's one catch basin right at the
Right.
beginning.
We would like to maintain that with the proposed grading out there.
Okay. Yeah, and I think there might be an opportunity in the future for us to put a drain in A Street and connect that up, so, okay. I just want to know if you were going to maintain that or if you were going to change the drainage system.
As of right now, we're not planning on changing it.
Okay.
Other questions or comments?
Small project, large project, small project, I assume.
Large project. Large project.
Large project. Right. So the TAPA is in process, has it been signed?
Cap has been submitted, you're correct.
It's been submitted, all right. Construction management plan, where do we sit with that?
It's been submitted.
It's been submitted, they probably said nothing.
You said 50 plus units, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Great project.
Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right, 3 weeks enough time? See you guys on December 6th.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is 395 Columbia Road, Quincy Street, Dorchester, pedestrian easement specific repairs on a set of petitions by Conservatory Lab Charter School Foundation, Inc.
Good morning, I'm Chelsea Christensen from Niche Engineering. With me today is Josh Sidney from KVA on behalf of Conservatory Lab Charter Schools. We are working on a new K through 8 school, charter school, located at 395 Columbia Road. We are proposing, this is a side view of the intersection of Quincy Street and Columbia Road. The improvements in the public way include changes to
Chelsea, so sorry to interrupt you. So thoughtful thought pattern. But we are in the process of rebuilding Quincy Street. Is this project coordinated with the city's reconstruction of Quincy Street, which I believe is happening right now? Because it would be so very awkward for you to be disrupting whether it is utility cuts or anything that is being done. And I'm going to assume, hopefully not false erroneously, that we have done as much outreach humanly possible about the Quincy Street project with every abutters. We've had multiple neighborhood meetings and always excited about any projects, but I'm just concerned about whether the left hand and the right hand were attached to the same body at this point. Forget about
They
talking
have
with
been.
them.
We have been in discussions with the BPDA, and we have.
BPDA may not be the agency that is going to be building Quincy Street, and in the future, when you all are doing projects of this nature, do speak to the agency that actually manages the roadway project. So, question is, have you all been in touch with Public Works, who owns the road that is under reconstruction? Will someone please help me to relieve my anxiety?
Sorry, just overheard. I actually have reviewed
What's your name?
this project. I gave our plans for Quincy Street and what we're
And so
doing.
they are chatting?
Design team.
Okay.
So that they would, you know.
Okay,
So they understand what we're doing on our side of the street and then the intersection.
We'll have them coordinate with that.
Right, very
Prior
good.
to the public
But
hearing.
since it is under construction,
100%, I don't
make
think
sure that they talk to
I
Katie
don't
Cho,
think it's an issue, but.
so that any utility connections they need.
It's gonna be an issue because I have an approved construction management plan on Quincy Street. I have nothing from you guys yet as far as what your construction management plan is, what you're stating, what you need to build this project. So where's that stand?
So we submitted to the Parks Department 2 weeks ago.
For what?
They
Submitted what?
They requested it because there's a park directly behind this
A
site.
construction management
The
plan?
construction management plan will be submitted to your office in the next couple of days.
Our CN intends on submitting it to you before Thanksgiving, or to BTD.
It is drafted and it's on its way to your
Parks
office.
already has it?
Well, the park submission deadline was a few weeks ago, so it was supposed to go in tandem to both BTD and Parks.
I'll just form me a second copy then. It was already.
It's already, it's all set, we'll get a copy to you.
Thank you. Because that's going to be very important to manage both projects and making sure that we achieve what you need to get done, and obviously paramount is the public works and building that street. So it's very important.
It's the utilities, because here's the nightmare situation. Someone without thinking through, we resurface the street, you need to get a utility connection, and then we are going to say, gee, don't cut, or you buying a whole lot of pain, and that would be very awkward.
Agreed.
So, hopefully Chelsea, let's figure out what are the utility connections they need.
Yep, we're on our second round with Boston Water and Sewer right now and are in co-box too.
Hey, your project stops in Columbia and they're on the other side of it.
I think I just wasted a whole bunch of your time and my anxiety.
No, the city did tell us about this, but
We'll have them coordinate with Zach.
yeah.
Okay.
That's
Who in BTD as far as is there a tap on this, Patrick? Do you know?
No, it's small project.
So I did give,
No tap on.
they have a design consultant, Ryan Weisel, I
Okay.
Early on, I made sure he was aware of our design project.
As you know, with schools, we're looking for school zone flashers, safety signage. I mean, we've got to basically make sure that we're weighing in on the design and what's going on at this school, because always we have issues with teacher parking, loading, unloading of the students and how they're getting to school, safe routes to school. Obviously, all those that good stuff that we want, protection for the students in the area. So, have you had any discussions with the transportation department on that?
We have, and we believe some of those comments are reflective in our plan for ingress and egress and teacher parking. We can go over those with you if you like.
Patrick?
Maybe, sorry, just for the record, it was VHB Sean Manning.
Okay.
I worked with Sean.
He's the culprit? All right.
I know Sean.
Okay, good. Thanks.
And I think you're okay. Your project, if I'm heading northeast on Columbia Road, you're on the right-hand side, right? You're fine. We are Railway Queens, you're on the other side. So my bad for taking you on the...
I think some of those sidewalks have already been reconstructed. They've already been completed on the other side.
So on your side, if you break anything, you'll have to put them back.
Yeah, that's
normal, standard.
We're rebuilding everything there.
Awesome.
Chelsea, can you walk us through the specific repair plan?
Yes. So the specific repairs include reconfiguration of the curb cuts to the side that we're closing to here, one new one here, slide this one over a little bit. They're all 24 feet, so standard curb cuts. We have a planting strip, a 5-foot planting strip along Quincy Street and Columbia Road with trees and vegetation that's not quite finalized with the Parks Department, but we're working with them to make it right.
Does that have a pervious paver strip in the planter zone?
No, just the planting itself is pervious. If there were to be pavers, then we would make them pervious.
What are you showing in the rendering? Are you showing like a different color brick or something?
That dark strip over there, Chelsea.
This is shadow.
No, in between the trees?
That's grass.
The grass?
Oh, so it's complete, okay.
Yeah,
So there's no pavers?
It's probably shrubbery of some sort.
Even better. Probably even better.
The BPDA requested vegetation in those strips.
So you will be maintaining all of that, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yes.
Bar Harbor shrub.
No. Because the whole Columbia Road, there's a hodgepodge of landscape element. Some are in great shape that are being maintained. Some have seen better days, and we like what you are proposing. So we would need you to maintain any vegetation that you put there.
That's fine.
And look forward to you maintaining that.
As do we.
The only other improvements are relocation of a street light that's in the way of this driveway, so we're putting a new street light in, at the request of the street lighting division. And because this planter strip takes up the public way of the sidewalk on Quincy Street, we have a petition for pedestrian easement along this side of our building, along Quincy Street, to allow pedestrians to walk here.
So the intent is buses pull off of Columbia Road and then go back onto Quincy Street, is that right? That's the
Yes, they come in from Columbia Road and circle through, bus drop off here, pair and drop off on the other side, one way through the site and out onto Quincy Street.
Other questions, comments? Members of the public?
All right. I think if you can just make sure to have that conversation with the Public Works team just about design consistency across Quincy Street, and then just to check with BTD quickly around the things we may want to do on the safe routes to school side. So with the engineering team there, that'd be terrific between now and great. Thank you. All right. See you guys in 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Great. Till then. Our next item of new business is 1 Dalton Street, Roxbury, discontinuance on a joint petition by 1 Dalton Owner LLC and the Boston Planning and Development Agency.
You here for your bridge?
I'm serious. I'm going to turn the bridge into a dog park.
So, good morning.
Thank you.
Got Chris Ande with Niche Engineering here. I'm here with Susan Kincaid, Wilmer Hale, and Jocelyn Stewart from Cambridge 7 Associates. And we're here on behalf of the One Dalton Tower LLC and the BPDA, asking for discontinuance in Dalton Street. So it's a small arc. It's approximately 121 square feet in front of the main entrance to the building, which is well under construction at this point.
This is this nice, very tall, you all did your top
Exactly.
off thing and everyone
Yes.
celebrated that.
Four Seasons Tower.
Exactly.
And I got 1 penny from that project.
So we've got just a foundation and a vestibule for the main entrance. The discontinuance will contain a foundation and a vestibule for the main entrance to the building.
Amy, who owns this in fee? Do we?
Janet.
Janet.
So Janet's taking it, yeah.
So we're taking all the way to the center of earth in the heavens.
And you're going to transfer all those funds to public works so that I can build a bridge?
Yes. That's been part of the vote.
But what I'm saying is,
On our way up here?
when we transfer it, we're transferring it to
62 feet 11. Yeah.
And then we'll maintain, we'll keep the other, cutting them off to the right. And we're taking it tonight.
No, we need to talk. If you could stay after this meeting, Ms. Carlson. Thank you so much.
I need to talk too, so. We should all stay after the meeting.
I think the only other thing I want to point out is that it's underneath the canopy that was previously approved here, this vestibule.
So we have a situation with Dalton Street.
Right. And this is because the revolving door you couldn't house it inside the building? Is
It's
that right?
not a revolving door, but it's to get the energy code required 10-foot deep vestibule. We've both projected into the building as well as outward. And so
Some of the vestibule has to be outside.
exactly. This is sort of the happy medium. Actually, it goes all the way from interior to exterior.
You said this is already under construction?
It is. The tower is, yes.
You top it off, right? And the
Yes.
more traditional, I think there's a hotel complex here, or am I?
Yes, it's hotel and residences.
The hotel chain is?
Four Seasons.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it's very high-end, very exciting.
It is. Yes.
It is.
Yes.
It's not often one gets a Four Seasons residence.
65 floors too.
So was this a change from your original scope?
It is, yes.
Have
Yes.
you filed an amendment?
Have we found
An amendment to,
The original.
plans approved with the busing.
The base permit, yeah.
Yeah, to the building permit, yes.
You filed an amendment, and the amendment issued?
Yeah, you filed an amendment,
I
correct?
believe we have, I
Yeah.
believe. I should actually verify that, but I believe so.
Could you send me the amendment number?
I could.
I mean, you don't want to get cut.
Yes.
Stephen's example, does that amendment need to be approved before we take, yes?
Yeah, the amendment would, in other words, the work hasn't been approved yet. The amendment is issued, we technically can't approve it without. PSC.
So it'd be contingent on, got it. Yeah, 3 weeks. Other questions or comments? Are done? Members of the public? All right, we'll see you guys in 3 weeks, and we can coordinate with Ryan on the amendment. That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is Scholar Square, Cambridge Street, Court Street, New Sudbury Street, Boston proper, discontinuances on a joint petition by the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority and the Boston Planning and Development Agency.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dan Bollier, Mass Bay Transit Authority, Project Manager, Government Center Station Project. We're here today as a joint petition with Boston Planning and Development Agency. And we have our consultant, HDR Engineering, who's been with us through the entire design and construction of the project. The primary purpose of today's action is for the discontinuance of a portion of the public way. And Jill, do you have anything, other wisdom to say before Don goes through the plan?
So, I'll
just give you a preview of what Don's going to be presenting today. This is finishing up unfinished business from 5.5 years ago. We discontinued pieces of Cambridge Street in March of 2013, and we're basically discontinuing the pieces in purple today, or hoping to discontinue those pieces in purple today. The reason we're doing that is because the blue line egress, emergency egress,
That's correct.
Yeah, so
Blue
the
line
blue-
emergency egress.
the blue line emergency egress head house moved out into Cambridge Street and occupied what used to be a parking lane. So we, as part of the project, needed to move the sidewalk out to contain that head house within the sidewalk. Therefore, the overall width of Cambridge Street was reduced. At the request of the city, and also as a part of the design of the project, we redefined what the public sidewalk would be and rendered that in concrete per the city standards. The remaining that is in purple is a mixture of brick, permeable pavement, and trees, which the city had no desire to maintain, so we asked us to discontinue it out of the existing public way, which is what we're here to do today.
And when it gets discontinued, who is going to maintain that space where people are still going to walk? And so it is going to be the BPDA that is going to be.
It's going to become part of the plaza. So we pulled the sidewalk out, we
Okay,
pulled the
so
plaza out, now
that
we
didn't
gotta
come out correctly.
discontinue the old
It
sidewalk.
will be the
that's down
city.
plaza.
So this basically, what this does is clearly defines what the public way is with the city standard concrete, and everything within the plaza will be the bricks and
Some of
trees
it.
and all of
So
those.
the concrete's ours, the brick is the BPDA.
Right.
Shall we have just covered it?
So, I'm sorry, so the discontinuance area will be owned by BPDA?
It
Well, it's
refers
the-
to us, we already own
Yeah,
the
they own here.
Okay.
Rick Rooney, who sits here, thanks it.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. And we do, that's worth mentioning, we do have an agreement with public facilities, yes, to property management, to maintain the plaza, and this portion will be added to the overall square footage of that agreement.
So BWSC has assets in the discontinuous area at the corner of New Sudbury, I believe?
That's me. You have an easement. So originally, we did the easements with water and sewer, which has the priority. We did Verizon and Eversource. We are in the process of doing National Grid along Court Street. It's signed by Boston Gas and BRA, and we're waiting for the city's signature. And then that'll be recorded before we come back with the discontinuance.
Perfect, so those easements will be transferred,
They're
essentially.
already done.
It's already
Yours is
done.
already on record.
So we feel good about it, all right. I'm good.
Dan, it's good to see you.
You as well.
It's Jane Dan.
Yes. This has always been a great project.
Thank you.
My continuing only anxiety is the location of that very interesting crosswalk. Okay? And I'm going to trace, just going to put it publicly out here, we're just going to trace back how that crosswalk came about. Because it is one of the most very interesting crosswalks that are there when you think about the right-hand traffic that is coming off 4th Street and making that right turn, and how pedestrians keep using that crosswalk when it has almost no connection to the right turn, and it is a very awkward situation. So all those that participated in creating that very interesting location of that crosswalk needs to re-question their decisions on that. I'm kind of serious. That's right at the city's front door, City Hall. You got all that pedestrian traffic coming out of the T traffic coming out over there. You've got the Center Plaza on the other side. And even later, a number of times I see awkward moments. It's awkward. I hate using that word, awkward. Okay? So,
Other questions or comments? Maybe you're Todd? All right, members of the public? Oh, jeez. All right, see you guys in 3 weeks. Does that work? All right, thank you. Our next item of new business is Hereford Street, Boston proper, a grant of location on a petition by Exnet.
morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, Ricardo Souza from Prince LaBelle Thai, here on behalf of the petitioner, Extenet Systems, and John Morrison from UC Synergetics. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is an extension by Extenet of its wireless DAS network pursuant to its license and franchise agreement and pursuant to a particular node on Hereford Street. We are proposing a dig that is going to be a micro trench dig of 325 feet rather than a traditional dig. The nature of this particular wireless DAS node is that it was approved by the Back Bay Architectural Commission. We have a certificate of appropriateness. We've also included a photo simulation of the design, which is consistent with the license agreement and also the requirements of the Back Bay Architectural Commission. And Para, as you know, we tried to do a pole mount, but this particular historic commission requires the base cabinet.
Mr. Souza, I'm baffled by the type of dialogue we have had, maybe in the city over the last however many years with
Yes.
the Back Bay Architectural Commission, and what they have allowed and not allowed into something as simple as a traffic signal controller box, which is fundamental to using and controlling traffic and its safety. And the drama we've had, and then allowing this to happen. And when you see now, Hereford and ComAv, right? We need to process. Newbury.
Yeah, Newbury. Hereford and Newbury.
I take that back. It's even
Yes.
higher rate control.
Right.
Rate district, however you want to say that.
So I think there's some inconsistency, Para. For example, I was at the South End Landmarks District Commission last Tuesday, and they actually prefer the pole mount, which we do as well, and that's what they approved. But this particular historic commission requires the base. And so we would always first propose the pole mounted cabinet. It's much better for us.
Before we get into the actual dig, if I'm reading
Yes.
this correctly, in general, the Back Bay Architectural Commission prefers the whip in this particular case as the design. In this particular case, they are approving what we sort of typically call the canister. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So some of our installations which are the dual globe design includes a whip antenna, and also some of the cantilevered light poles are also a whip design, but these particular ones on a standard street light have a canister.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
When a street light pole that has a certain diameter and when it is next to a fire hydrant versus a foundation type system, not a foundation, a larger skirt that is next to a fire hydrant, is there a minimum clear zone that is needed, Mike, from a fire hydrant to any vertical device? It has to be, because otherwise, if I'm the firefighter,
incorporate that into our antenna standards.
Right, so I'm going to assume that that has been checked over here because I don't have a side view and.
Do you know, John, is there a minimum clearance?
Assumably.
For the base to a
I'm
fire
sure there
hydrant?
is a minimum clearance,
Yes,
and any times.
Just check that one, okay?
Yes.
Because in this area, it's all high rise and things do happen, and we just don't want the firefighter to worry too much about the fact that he can't get the curved radiuses of the fire hoses when it is under full blast. Okay?
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah, at minimum, when they put that wrench on, it needs to spin all the way around. They can't take it off and do this.
do
It
none
has
of
to go
that
all the way around,
nonsense.
and then, yeah, as you mentioned, the hoses don't go 90 degrees.
Yes.
That could be a good argument against base cabinets as well.
See, there you go.
We have plenty of them.
Yeah.
I throw the towel.
Yeah, no, it should be in our broader.
Correct.
antenna standards.
All right, do you want to talk about the actual?
Yeah, the dig itself is just along Hereford Street.
It's a micro trench?
It is a micro trench, correct, rather than a traditional dig.
You all are extremely sensitive to your program by micro trenching. It is still these vertical babies that are
Right.
out there, and I'll keep it out there.
But we understand you and we hear you, and our first proposal is always that pole mount.
Other questions or comments?
Procedure question. So on these utility plans that come to PIC, do they also go to Boston Water and Sewer as utility plans? Are we set up for a situation where we look at it, sign off, but then it doesn't get a PIC sign off?
No, so it either comes here or it would be a lateral that went through the lateral process, but it's one or the other.
They're exclusive, it's one or the
Yeah.
other, okay.
So
So we would
Commissioner-
not have seen this as a
Correct.
utility plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
And
That's
Commissioner,
what-
we wouldn't file a plan here unless it was first approved by Boston Water and Sewer. So that plan has been approved by Boston Water and Sewer
So
already.
like it all goes to you and it's whether or not it cleaves off into this process or continues with just the lateral.
But it starts there
process.
first, okay, so
It
we're not in a
always goes to you
situation where
first.
we have one approval, one non-approval.
Right.
No, no.
It always goes to you first because you're the only one who would stand to say no.
Because we're essential to life.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Amir Todd? Members of the public? All right, see you guys in 3 weeks.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners.
Our next item is Bay State Road, Silver Way, Boston proper, a granted location on a petition by Crown Castle.
Hi, Chris Murray with Crown Castle, looking to get grant location for Bay State Road and Silver Way. The construction will be for telecommunications conduits. On Bay State Road, there's approximately 600 feet of micro trench, including city shadow conduit. And on Silver Way, there is about a little under 300 feet of conventional trench, also containing city shadow conduit. We've distributed all the necessary plans to the public agencies, and the only response we've got to date is that the disabilities folks want to move one of the handholds, if possible, out of the sidewalk area, out of a crosswalk area.
And have we made that change? Have you made that change?
Shouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
The segment of Silver Way that is completely embedded within the BU University complex, correct?
It's right off of Com Ave here.
Yeah, so it is within the BU complex. And you are doing conventional trenching over there?
That's conventional trench,
And
correct.
the reason is, because here's where I'm getting at, it is possible that BU has invested monies in the Wayhouse Silver Way, even though it's a public street, they may have invested. So that here are the things which I don't know. Does BU know what you are planning on doing? Hopefully they do. Two, why are you going conventional trenching? Because Silver Way was built to, there's some history behind why that street was named Silver Way. And
Typically, conventional trench implies some kind of backbone facilities, whereas the micro trench is more in line with.
No, but it is, this is like their front door to their main campus area, and I just don't know whether you have conversed with BU.
I can make that inquiry.
Yeah,
and
whether
get
they
that.
know, hey, are you doing this? When are you doing this? And how is it going to be left? And BU might get really upset with us for allowing this work to be done without their knowledge and be kept from here for the next 7 to 10 years until someone resurfaces the street with a trench. That is going to be a lot more than a micro trench.
I'll work
Amy,
with-
can you sort something?
I'll work with these folks to get some contact, sure.
BU's all bought into the amount of collateral damages that's going to be on Silver Way after they are done.
Yep.
Okay?
We also need the plans in PIC format.
Correct.
Yeah, because this thing
And
you
notifying
can't.
that there's a shadow in it.
This is like a key map, and this is.
Other questions or comments? Amir Todd? All right, members of the public? All right, a few things to take care of between now and December 6th, but does that work for you? 3 weeks? Sir? 3 weeks enough time
Yes.
to take care of those things? Okay, great. All right, see you then.
Thank you.
Our next item of new business is Buswell Street, Park Drive, Montfort Street, Boston proper, a grant of location on a petition by Crown Castle.
Did we where about this? My brain's not clicking. Is it
North of
so-
Audubon Circle.
Yeah.
Sorry?
North of Audubon Circle.
Park Drive.
Yeah, I think it includes part of Park Drive.
Any sensitive customers, any sensitive abutters within this area?
Many.
Yeah. We'll come up with a
So-
I think on this particular construction, we have a total of 60 feet of conventional trenching, and that is on Mount Fort Street, and there's going to be just under 700 feet of microtrench combined on Mount Fort, Park Drive, and Buswell Street. And again, the only response we got back from any public agency was the disabilities asking us to move one of the handholds that was located in a crosswalk, and we'll work towards resolving that.
This is for your capital program next construction season?
I don't know. I don't know.
I would hope so.
It is a major commitment from getting a two-story mile out on Fort Ave. Obviously.
It's going to be an interesting traffic pattern.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we've submitted them to you already. I'll resend them if you don't have them.
Yeah, no problem. We'll wait till next year.
microtrenching.
We were given Fenway Park Games, Boston Marathon, looking at things that happens before. Yeah. All right. Questions or comments? Emir Todd? Members of the public? All right. See you on 3 weeks on this one as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Our next item of new business is 5 Major Michael J. O'Connor Way in South Boston, earth retention license on a joint petition by O'Connor Senior Housing LLC and the Boston Housing Authority.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Adrian Walsh with Built Right Construction, General Superintendent.
I'm Donna Brown with South Boston Neighborhood Development Corporation, the owner.
Aiming for the petition, we have O'Connor Senior Housing LLC and BHA.
So the Boston Housing Authority is transferring the site to the partnership, in South Boston NDC is the managing partner.
Transferring, meaning it is action to be taken in the future.
Which is why we made them be a petitioner, so
Yeah.
that we were covering both the now and the future,
Yeah.
but they will be the future.
We're closing tomorrow.
Okay, so
Yeah.
by the-
So-
We have assigned
in the
petitioners.
part- So, but at the public hearing, you will be this today's new business.
Yes.
In a few weeks, you
Yeah,
will come.
BHA is selling us the land tomorrow. So.
Okay, so at the BHA.
Yeah. So it was to cover the gap, if there was one.
And we have the signed petitioners here.
Perfect.
3 copies.
Thank you. They sold the whole thing to you? I mean, is it a 99-year lease or?
No, it's they're selling us a 15,000 square foot parcel that's adjacent to the Mary Ellen McCormick development.
Is the street ours, or is it BHA?
It's ours. They have a habit of giving us their streets
Yeah.
anyway.
Can you walk us through the project and then your potential?
Do you want me to go? So the project involves the development of 47 units of affordable elderly housing on this parcel of land that was a surplus parcel, part of the Mary Ellen McCormick development. So South Boston NDC and Caritas Communities are 2 nonprofits that applied through an RFP process in 2015, and we're receiving various public funding sources to complete this project.
And then can you walk us through the earth retention plan?
So it's just a small basement. It's 27 feet in length. The retention system we're requiring is 56 feet. because we will need 14 feet approximately either side for sloping. The rest of the building is slab on grade frost walls.
Amy, to the best of your knowledge or to the best of your recollection, will this project require any additional interaction between the project team and the PIC?
I mean, only if they were to redo anything in the street, but this is kind of to let
So
them go on
localized.
their,
We received and reviewed a curb cut application for
That would be
their
the
site
next step.
access, and also I believe they have building overhangs that have been approved by ISD as de minimis projections.
Okay, so
But
no
the
further
rest is
action.
gonna be kind of a straight sidewalk reconstruction that they won't require us.
Yeah, so we've gone through Boston Water and Sewer. They're just requiring cameraing before and after, and we've no problem with doing that.
Thank you. You can send that directly to me. It's the same email address I emailed the comments from.
No problem.
Mail us a DVD or,
It'll probably be thumb drive.
yeah.
That's fine.
Whatever's convenient for you. Yep.
Yep.
We'll take it. Thank you.
So have you submitted a construction area plan on this project?
Yes, it's all been
It's gone to
submitted.
my office?
Yes, it's gone through the first review. We're just waiting for sign off.
So Corey Corshaw's been looking at that?
Yes, I think so, yes. We've had no comments, so.
It'll be coming short.
I'm sure.
Other questions or comments?
Amy, just make sure that they do the plans so that it can actually go through PIC.
Yep, yep. Yeah.
Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right, see you guys on December 6th in 3 weeks.
Terrific, thank you.
Till then. Our final item of new business is Governor Dudley Square, Dudley Street, Washington Street, Roxbury, widening and relocation, specific repairs on a set of joint petitions by the City of Boston Transportation Department, the City of Boston Department of Neighborhood Development, and the City of Boston Public Facilities Department.
Good afternoon. Since it is after 12 o'clock, it's officially good afternoon. Commissioners, my name's Patrick Hoey with the Boston Transportation Department, planner and project manager. And this afternoon, we have to present a segment of a public improvement project, a capital improvement project that the city has been leading and initiating under BTD and in partnership with our sister agency, Public Works. The co-petitioners, as you may see, are public facilities as well as Department of Neighborhood Development, and the reason being public facilities is is developing, the developer, so to speak, of the new Dudley Library. So as a major stakeholder, we've been coordinating closely with them. D&D is the title holder to the land, so we're co-petitioning with our fellow city agencies. They had personnel offered to be here today, but I told them probably in 3 weeks it would be better to have their presence, that it wasn't necessary for new business. But just back to the reason why we're here, this one segment, again, is a piece of a larger project which we've had in design for reconstruction of the entirety of Dudley Square. The scope of this segment runs along kind of the southern edge of the project, along Dudley Street, along that curb line from Washington Street around the corner to Warren Street. And the reason for advancing and accelerating this one piece primarily is the schedule and the reconstruction of the library, where since we were already in design, it made sense for us to create their frontage and to build their sidewalk in a timely manner that would coincide with their grand opening, so to speak, next fall, just under a year from now. So with Public Works and PAR's guidance kind of accelerating this, we're here today seeking to be on the docket for our hearing in a couple weeks to advance this into approvals for construction. The goals of this project, kind of at large in general, beyond just creating this frontage for the library and for the development parcel next door, are for increased pedestrian safety, to improve some of the traffic and congestion issues related to the MBTA station and general traffic, and also create bicycle facilities where none exists today. So effectively a complete streets makeover of Dudley Square, keeping in mind the volumes that we have of vehicles, buses, pedestrians, all the competing interests. So we've tried to strike a balance between those, all of those. The scope of work, you see the intersection is part of this phase one. We do reconstruct the intersection of Warren and Dudley substantially with new equipment. We realign that intersection. We shorten the crosswalk distances, create a protected intersection, make everything one stage where today you have kind of islands that you have to find refuge on, and there's like a free right that is not really friendly for pedestrians. We didn't want to discount the effect that has on processing traffic. We've done a lot of work with BTD staff, to make sure that we don't crimp the existing capacity needs in Dudley Square with all the volume that we have that I mentioned. So primarily for this segment, it's to address many different issues. One, create that frontage for the municipal project of the library renovation, set the stage for the D&D BBDA kind of development of the private development on public land of the old B2 station, tie into our Blue Hill Warren Signal project, and set the stage for the phase two, which would continue with traffic improvements, ped safety improvements, cycling accommodation, the complete streets makeover for the square all the way north of the bowling building. So kind of that, in a nutshell, puts it into context for you commissioners.
Can you just briefly walk us through some of the details of what's being proposed in this phase?
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. And if I need Jen to jump in, I can. My project team is WSP. Jen Conley is the project manager. Sorry for not introducing her. And her team, we have Sean Sanger from Copley Wolf, the landscape architect. And we have civil engineer Sarah Bergman from WSP. Just again, the limited scope of work, the larger project, you can see the square in entirety. Phase two, the full build. Phase one, the scope, we have, there are single improvements, less than the substantial improvements at Warren and Washington and Dudley, but we do have some signal adjustments, crosswalk, protected intersection, installation on the southern corner. We essentially borrow the space from the median today in this kind of extra wide cross section that's about 90 feet wide in some places. Without reducing the lanes, we take that median space and we extend the curb out to create a wider sidewalk and pedestrian accommodations and some landscaping, some simple landscaping, street trees, some planters that could be programmed under the phase two or in partnership with the future development. We don't want to build something that we can't maintain, but we want to kind of preserve that space. Similarly, around the corner on Warren Street, Sport, Union Plan. Just as we reconstruct the medians, again, we wanted to make sure something, we didn't want to put a grass planting or something that we couldn't take care of here, so we took our cue from a couple of projects, the Cambridge Street with the pavers, the block pavers, and then what we did in Upham's Corner, I thought was a good treatment. It's attractive. It's a good amenity. It serves its purpose without being something we can't maintain. This is under flash condition now. We've kind of buttoned up this intersection to make it safer for pedestrians and cyclists progressing through there. We had originally a signal proposed, but it just created too much of a problem with the progression and the coordination with other signals. So we took that out, and we'll have it under a yield condition for pedestrians. But the limit of work goes to Kearsarge, where we pick up the Blue Hill Warren piece that is a TIP project. So you have the TIP project, Dudley scope of work, the library, future D&D, and the new police station, which already has been up and running for a couple of years. So, but again, the streetscape enhancements, cycling improvements, ADA compliance. The existing conditions really aren't favorable at all to people with disabilities, so we wanted to make sure that not just per requirement ADA, but we wanted to make it really accessible and inviting for people with disabilities, especially patrons of the library and other institutions in Dudley Square and the station itself. So pretty much that's just phase 1 scope, and again, continuing with the same treatments north as the Baldwin building.
Just a tiny question for clarification. Jennifer, right?
Yep.
Sorry. Jennifer, can you flip back to the previous page, please? So starting with the intersection of Warren. Okay, so you see the west side crosswalk?
Yeah.
Right there. So immediately to its left, there's a median section. Okay, now that median, Jennifer, is it to be removed or?
To be removed.
Okay,
Yes.
so can you just make sure that the notation shows up on it, because the median section beyond that, you have a R&D, remove and transport. Could you please show that thing, because it,
So you had mentioned that there's another TIPS project. So this is a BTD initiative, right? Project?
Yeah, it's BTD design, and Public Works would advertise the project.
BTD design. And then we have Melnea-Cass, which is TIPS. So that would be MassDOT and Public Works.
MassDOT buildings, city BDD-led design.
And we've got...
Only is mine too, in design, BTD, and it's a TIP, it's DOT.
Oh, Melnea's BTD as well?
Yes. The design, I've been leading the design for a number of years. It's a TIP-funded project, so DOT would bid that out. It would be city bid.
Okay, so
This is city bid.
my questions are, maybe we can do this offline for a shorter meeting, but so for consistency in design approach, because I noticed that the bike lanes and the things that we're doing here, we're doing like pervious pavement in the bike lanes, but then on Melnea-Cass, we've kind of taken a different approach where we've got dry wells all over the place, and so I'm just suggesting maybe we meet and just learn a little bit more about the designs, and moving forward, if we have a preference, maybe we need to install it, have some lessons learned, and then have a preference. I mean, these are great improvements, and I'm really excited for all of these projects. Just
Yeah, happy to present.
Yeah, because as you know, you're waiting for comments from us for all of these. So we're reviewing them all at the same time. So I was literally looking at Melnea-Cass this morning, and I looked at these last week, and so I just noticed some different approaches. It accomplishes the same goals. But.
Yeah, I think maybe with we've had different design teams, and then there's different, you know, that we have a lot more funding for Melnea-Cass. You know,
Great.
So we're fully funded $25 million for Melnea-Cass.
It's fantastic.
And, you're fairly rich on this one also, Ben.
Yeah. So yeah.
Not
to scrimp on it, you know.
These are all going to be great projects for this area of the city. Huge.
But we want to make sure the standards for water and sewer, you know, for permeability and for recharge and meeting all those standards.
I think to Michael's point, we want to make sure that there's a uniform standard that is to yours and Michael's liking, irrespective of where the funding source is, and we will endeavor to do the right thing, something like that.
Yeah, we want to be helpful because we're, you know, often the ones that are telling you, you need to do this, you need to do that. So when I'm reviewing these plans and getting a better flavor for it.
I think with Melnea, we had the catchment, and I think installing those type of catchment areas here may have been just space for that, and there's a lot of space on Melnea for those.
And we have met a couple of times with Kate, and she was the one who kind of helped us develop kind of our strategies on this one, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I can circle back with her. And Hillary Williams is also here from Hatch. We can meet with you, or we can meet with you offline, as you said, to discuss, you know, why we use the approaches here that we did. certainly with some input from Boston Water and Sewer.
We're just trying to get bike lanes to be porous, because why not, is really where I think that we're trying to get to. If Boston Water and Sewer has a preference for how this is done on these two projects, we should go with whatever the preference is. But I think beyond that, we've got to kind of, we're starting to think about making bike lanes a porous entity.
I like what we've done here. I'm just pointing out that we're like a couple blocks away and we've taken different approaches, and I could be convinced either way. But like, let's meet and just talk about it.
Tiny details, but since we are so anxious to get this project advertised for construction,
Yes.
Need your team to pay as much due diligence as possible. So these little examples I give are not the totality of the examples, but it is homework which you need to do. So that same little island which I showed you,
Yes.
that needs to be properly noted.
Yes.
There are a couple of street light poles, at least per your drawings, on
Yes.
either side of it. Okay, so those street light poles just don't disappear. You need to properly annotate as to what happens to the poles and the underground conduit system, and what is going to happen when you take that light pole off. Okay, because that light pole is there to shed light. What is not shown over here is when you take that pole out, where's the new pole going? So please, because right now we all are in the process of reviewing your designs, and this is not the forum for us to convey this information. So please do your homework appropriately, so that the plans which Patrick has shepherded so amazingly, you step up and do what you need to do, okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Just a couple of questions relative to, obviously, it's a concern about the congestion in this area. Captain Terry Thomas constantly calling about maximizing the signal efficiencies out here. The district fire chief, Boston Public Schools, about tours. What's the net increase in level of service that we're creating with this improvement?
There isn't a significant change in the level of service as part of this improvement, because we've been able to tighten up the intersection. We've been able to reduce crossing times and change the signal phasing to be more conducive.
So what's the level of service?
The level of service, I believe at this location, it's a level of service D. Excuse me, with the improvements, it'll be a level of service D. It has been operating at a level of service E, I believe, before the improvements.
So we're still operating at level of service D? Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just on the engineering side of the house, Patrick, we have numerous pages of comments that are in. I know you've worked on a few of them.
Yes.
It's going to be very important to address those before the 3 weeks for the.
Yes, we will have those submitted actually back to everyone by the end of the week.
So
Yes.
you have some homework, and please
Yes.
Do us proud or something like that.
Definitely.
And on the construction management plan, it's going to be included in the contract. This is not going to be a typical. We need a all-out design on the construction management plan that will phase the construction to complete this and not gridlock the area. Okay.
To the chief, the discussion that we had earlier on maintenance and that intersection, we made the changes that were recommended in the meeting with yourself and the deputy, so the machinery could make its way through.
So that will be reflected in the submission.
And then Washington and Dudley, we can just double check the width that's available, just so we can get a piece of equipment up that.
To make sure.
You got it, right where you are.
Okay.
And Amy, I'm mindful of some of the issues we've had with Connect Historic Boston and sort of the interest of utility companies connecting across a cycle track post-construction. Is there anything we should be putting in place here to make that more feasible in the future and not dig up what we're building?
Yeah, I mean, if we could get, or to say to utility companies that this is your opportunity.
Get in now.
This will be one of the places that we're freezing in co-bucks, like the Connect Historic Boston cycle track.
So we should just do that as well, just so we're not, because I think both those parcels, right, are going.
Once we're done, we want it to be.
Will that impede our ability to advertise this thing within the next 2 months or 3 months? So just this may not be the time where we want to do that, because if for some reason utilities say they need something else and that doesn't allow us to advertise this because we have a
No, I said we go ahead, and if they want to coordinate with our construction.
Because I can't put those specifications into the construction contract. Okay. So.
We have already received a request from MBTA Power to coordinate during our
Great.
construction. They have some work they'd like to do while we're working.
So we just
So
do
we'll do a
the
second round
outreach.
of notifications to utility companies, basically saying, this is your last opportunity to cut across. the-
Exactly, otherwise. Other questions or comments? Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right,
Great,
see you guys in 3 weeks.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? So moved.